Well, here we are, and I want to do some boring. These are Wohlhaupter, anyway, boring heads. This is a UPA2, which is big, probably too big for my machine. It's a Morse taper 3. This is on a Morse taper 2, and it's a size 2, and that's a nice size for my head, but for my machine. But as ever, it's got issues. It's got automatic feed, so it can face, and it's got automatic return, or a return which can be set with stops, but unfortunately the knockoff doesn't switch it off, and so I need to get this working a bit better if I can. The return is selected by engaging this push down button here, and when it gets to the end of its travel, it's spinning this way. This should hit a stop and then click disengage. Now this one's not disengaging, that doesn't matter, so I'm going to see if I can fix the stop. The stop goes into a spring-loaded detent. The spring's coming this way with a finger that pushes in. There are two little notches on the detent and a flat side. So when this little pin goes into the hole, you line up the finger, put it in on the flat side, give it a quarter twist, and I've marked up the side so I can see which side it is, so that it lines up like so, and then this rounded end fits into a rounded receiver at the bottom, and when it hits and jams up tight it should throw itself out. I'm going to take this one out and just double check the angle. So to take them out, you should, and you know when they're in right actually, because when you take them you can feel it notching on the finger. So that's notching on the finger. So I should come a turn, quarter turn there, big screwdriver. Never. Right, good. So there's that pin. I'm going to measure the angle on the end. And what I've done with this pin, I've blued it up. I'm going to run it on the machine. We'll see where it hits. I think it's just going down too long in the machine. So here we go. We're going to just line up that finger. It's a sprung finger. Okay, so flat face goes to there. That's got it. Then I'm going to take that mark and bring it round. Now it engages and disengages. It engages. The head spins this way, so when it hits the stop, that should disengage. When it didn't automatically disengage, this is for the return feed, it jammed on my machine because I was using the long arm, and that messed up the facing feed, so I've had to fix that as well. Anyway, never mind, let's have a look at this. Alright, so here it is for real on the machine. The head feeds this way. Oh, there's a little arrow on the other side. So the head feeds this way as it's facing. When we've got the two rings linked up together here, it gives you the rapid return. As it comes to this end here, it should hit this stop. The stop hits the pin and the finger disengages. All right. So what I've been doing is I've been bringing it back in with a stick, and then when it hits and the whole thing doesn't disengage, it just snaps the stick. Alright, so let's give this a go. We'll go for the rewind. So it's rewinding and it snapped my stick. Alright, snap the stick off. It's gone all the way to the stop and locked up. When I had the correct bar in, the bar then flew around the back, jammed up, and the whole head got really unhappy. So I have stripped the whole head. I'll wind it back off the stop. So now when I'm running it, I'm using a small bar. Now for a facing feed, this should have disengaged, so we'll disengage it. One stop. That separates the top and bottom ring, which are actually linked together on an epicyclic gear. Then we push the facing feed in. That's now on facing feed. I'm happy that this works. You can see how as you move the bar, the ring moves in, the bottom ring moves in the opposite direction. Okay, so now if I hold that bar and fire it up, it's a much slower feed. There you go. A little bit of resistance. We've hit the stop and the feed button's popped out. Now at that stage normally you hit the rapid return. Use the little button tool because there's two little marks there to line it up. Okay, I'm taking that out and put my stick back in. Now we'll return it back the other way. And I've got that lightly with my fingers. So that's how I've been running it, but I would like the auto return to work properly. So what I'm hoping now is that will have marked the pin up. I'm going to see if I've marked that blued up pin, and then I'm going to grind it a little bit. I painted that one blue so I can remember that this way is facing feed. When you look on the other side of the head, so facing feed is that way. There's an arrow there that points this way, and that is a killer. Oh, this, by the way, if you're not using facing and you accurately set your diameter, then you lock it, and that stops anything from moving, so that when it sets off, your settings don't change. So that's just a lock, and when you're on facing feed, that is always off. So we've given that a good wallop, tightened it right up. Now we're going to take that pin turn, perfect pattern screwdriver, lift the pin out, and we can see it's hitting hard. That line on the pin shows it's hitting on the flat rather than hitting on the tapered section, so we're going to grind down to that mark. So measuring the angle at the end, more than 45 degrees, probably 50 degrees. If it was 45 and I put it in a square, then those faces would line up, but they don't. It's more. Righty. We've got our pin. We can see where it's hitting. We're going to take a little bit off the end. The problem that we've got is there's this little daft shoulder, which of course means I can't grip it easily, of course. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to put it in this little collet holder in a split sleeve, which is just a bit of handy dandy plastic. So it's in my collet holder, chuck key, nice chuck key, nice chuck key. That ain't going anywhere. And folks, we're going to the Brearley grinder. Boom. Yep, so we're at the Brearley grinder. We've taken the cam off this side so that as the head rotates, it's not going in and out. We've locked off the head so that it's not rotating backwards and forwards. So we've got a pure circular movement, and in goes the collet chuck into the 6-jaw chuck, and we'll just put those flats so that there we go. Okay, I'm not taking any more off. If I've got it, I've got it. If I haven't, I haven't. I'm not worried. Collet, that's a handy dandy collet chuck to sit in the 6-jaw chuck. Handy. Righty tidies. Well, I've taken a skim off. I could take more, but I don't want to lose the anatomy of the whole thing and mess it up. So if I've got it, great. If I haven't, well, we'll just say forget it. I'll just get that finger in the right orientation. I have had the whole head to pieces. That finger is symmetrical, so it doesn't work. You know, I haven't put it in upside down. We'll put the flat to the finger with the correct tool. There it's in. Now I've got to rotate it till it's on those notches. Then it should engage, which it does. So I've put it in, rotated it. We're on the notches. The notches were nice and clean. It's still providing drive. It turns that way. So for the knockoff to work, it should come here, hit and disengage, but it just, oh, you little, nah, I just can't get the disengage to work. Never mind. You can see on this pin there should be some land between the second notch and the taper. So I've definitely adjusted this pin. Both pins are exactly the same size. If I had messed up, I could just reinstate this pin in this unit and then make a new pin out of hardened steel. Okay, I'll use my wooden stick method. Alright, I'm going to bore out a hole in the top of this plate here. We're on the Tom Senior mill. Strap the work down. There's an existing hole, we've got to widen it to a shoulder. I've got a centre here. The table's locked off, so if I drop the table away, that hole is dead centre. That's a great taper on this, it's so accurate, but anyway, give it a clunk anyway. With my copper hammer. Okay. As the cutter moves on feed, it moves towards this stop here. When it returns, it's going back over and it gets to this stop here. I'll put the cutter in the right way round. That's about the extent of the additional cut that I want on this hole here. So what I'm going to do, and the return is going to be too far, it's going to return too far, but I'm going to move the stops. Okay, we're not doing a large facing job, so I've flipped these stops the other way around. As it's feeding this away and cutting, and then on the return if I find return, which is there, it'll hit this stop, hit the go button, that'll return. It's going to snap off. Alright, but that's got my return where I want it. So I'm going to put a 1/2 millimetre cut on, that's 20 thou. Let's see how this goes. Unlock the back, so lock off. Feed on. Stubby bar. Here we go. Okay, so that's a 20 thou cut. Final depth of 150 on the dial. Final cut is 10 thousandths, so it should be really happy. Okay, now it's clicked out of gear there. To return it, instead of, you know, pushing the thing in on the top and all the rest, it was quicker if I just held it. I'll do it this way, with thumb and first finger, return it, because it's such a short return, and that was it. It's back on the start. So I'm going to now measure my hole, check my depth, check my diameter. If I need to make a fine adjustment on the diameter, then what I can do is I can just move the stops, add increments, small increments, put cut on and nudge it up, but we should be bang on an inch there. Okay, so that's bored really nice and true, exactly an inch diameter. What I can say is that although my boring head has got a return issue, boy, can you set accurate holes. So, really pleased with that. I've got to do some more boring now.
Thanks for watching.